While every shelter pet is unique, some love a good game of fetch, others would rather snuggle on the couch. However, there is one thing that they all have in common. They're all pure love. Right now, millions of pets in shelters and rescues across the country are waiting to be adopted. The cat that you just heard walk through with her bell, that's River. The one chasing her is Nemo, and they have been my constant companions for 7 years. We also have another cat downstairs named Thackeray Banks, who is also one of our adoptees. And our dog, who passed away a couple years ago, was found as well. Did you know that only 44% of dogs and 47% of cats in American homes come from animal shelters and rescue groups? We're not a typical group, but I'd like us to be the normal. If you're thinking about getting a pet this holiday season, make sure to visit theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, Maddie's Fund, and the Humane Society of the United States.
Howdy, folks. I'm fixing to tell y'all about Texas, nicknamed the Lone Star State.
I'm particularly fond of these. I pulled them out of a place on Midgard called Texas.
Don't mess with Texas?
That's the message.
I'm Walker, and I'm Texas Ranger.
Taxi, I mean, anything for Salinas.
Welcome to this week's episode of Texas Slang for Crazy. This week we're discussing the Midget Mansion in San Antonio. Texas is a weird place, but it also has its share of ghost stories. For the month of October, we're going to be focusing on some of the cooler urban legends and ghost stories that Texas has to offer. Please feel free to share your personal Texas ghost stories with us at txslangforcrazy@gmail.com, and we'll share them on the show. Special thanks to my husband for this week's recommendation. Here's just a quick disclaimer before we start. Midget is not the preferred way to refer to someone of small stature or those who have dwarfism. The name came from a different time, so please be advised we mean no disrespect for little people. San Antonio has some strange urban legends. We've got the Donkey Lady, La Llorona, Black-Eyed Kids, and even the Bunny Monster. But one of the strangest is that of the Midget Mansion Murders. Many people claim they know the exact location of the Midget Mansion. Most folks boil it down to one of two locations: 4114 Medical Drive, now Promontory Point Apartments, or 8139 Donor Place. Both are private properties. Do not go there without permission. Back closer to the 1920s, these areas would have been far less built up than they are today. The mansion was referred to as both the Donor Mansion and the Gillespie Mansion. Based on the few old pictures swirling around the internet, the style was that of a Greek revival, and it had Corinthian columns on the outside. It was believed that a Navy captain was the first to live in the mansion with his family, but even those details are hazy. The rumor was that he was incredibly wealthy, but didn't live in the home for very long. Shortly after moving in, they moved right out. Rumors say this could be due to a tragic death, or just a desire to get the heck out of San Antonio. The house moved into the hands of a wealthy gentleman, his wife, and their 2 daughters. He was rumored to have made his fortune starring in the movies. But here's where it gets super weird. The belief is that the new family were a little different. The mother and father were little people, but at the time they were known as midgets. Their children were of average height. The father used his wealth to install a pool and servants' quarters. The strange thing was that most of the items in his house were built to be of much smaller stature, requiring average-sized people to bow and stoop to get through the home. This was said to include lower door handles, smaller furniture, lower ceilings, small light fixtures, and the like. All seemed to be going along swimmingly, like in most ghost stories before something really bad happens. There are at least 3 variations of what happened next. I've picked the most gory because it's Halloween season, but I'll link to a few of the variations on our website for the curious. The father came home one evening in a black rage. It was rumored his business was not going well, especially with a failing economy. He grabbed a knife from the kitchen and quickly slit the throat of his wife and their 2 children. He pulled each into the second-floor closet. In his derangement, he is said to have redressed his wife and children in clean clothes before locking the closet door, their faces frozen in terror. The father then committed suicide by shooting himself in the master bedroom. After a few days, the neighbors whispered that they hadn't seen the family. They contacted the authorities, but upon entering the home, they found nothing strange on the first level of the house. They followed the smell to discover the father in the master bedroom, bathed in a pool of his own blood. Then they discovered the other family members in the closet. On the walls, they found written in blood notes as well as scratches into the door as if they'd tried to escape. One of the other versions claims it was a servant who went mad, but I digress. Things started to get spooky pretty quickly. Several owners purchased the property only to quickly turn around and sell it right again. Those who lived in the house claimed they regularly heard moaning and crying from the second floor, as well as the constant sound of scratching. Some claimed to find fresh scratch marks on the wall, and after a while the house just remained empty and abandoned. Like most abandoned properties, it became a hangout for teenagers trying to prove their mettle. Police were regularly called when the neighbors heard screams or could see a woman move from room to room, but never actually leave the house. Ready for more weirdness? Supposedly in the 1970s, neighbors thought